Praxis Precision Medicines is currently trading at $162.71, which is a staggering move up of $105.36, or 183.71% on the day. Now, when you see a number like that, an explosion of nearly 200% in a single trading session, the immediate impulse is to think the lottery ticket has just paid out. And on the surface, that's exactly what this looks like. But the reality of this move, what it truly signifies for the company and for anyone considering an online investment here, is far more complex than just a headline number. The expectation is that Praxis has found its golden goose. The reality is that they have just bought their ticket to the most expensive and dangerous part of the race, and the market is front-loading every ounce of optimism into the here and now. This is the kind of move that attracts a flood of activity on platforms from Fidelity to Robinhood, but understanding the why behind the what is critical. The catalyst for this monumental gap up is news that any clinical stage biotech company dreams of. Praxis announced positive top-line results from its Phase 2b Essential 1 study evaluating ulixacaltamide for the treatment of essential tremor. The study met its primary endpoint, showing a statistically significant reduction in the ABCT score, which is a measure of tremor severity, compared to a placebo. This is without a doubt a massive win. The market has been starved for good news in the small-cap biotech sector, which has been underperforming broader indices that are driven by giants like Nvidia stock or Apple stock. So when a company delivers clean, positive data in a large and underserved market, the reaction is bound to be forceful. The trading volume today is astronomical, likely exceeding its average daily volume by several 1,000% within the first hour of trading. This isn't institutional funds slowly building a position. This is a shockwave event, a frantic repricing of the company's entire future. Short sellers who were betting against the company are being absolutely steamrolled, forced to buy back shares at any price to close their positions, which only adds fuel to this vertical price climb. Now, let's ground ourselves in the common belief, the story everyone on the message boards and financial news channels is repeating. The narrative is that Praxis, a company that was trading in the mid-50s just yesterday, has now proven its lead asset works. Essential tremor affects millions of people, and current treatments are often decades old with significant side effects. The expectation is that ulixacaltamide is now on a clear glide path to approval and will become the new standard of care, generating billions in sales. This is the story that justifies a nearly tripling of the company's market capitalization overnight. It's a compelling story, and it's not entirely wrong, but it is dangerously incomplete. The deeper analysis reveals the significant hurdles that remain. This was a Phase 2b study. While a crucial proof of concept, it is not a registrational trial. The company must now go to the FDA, present this data, and design a much larger, much more expensive, and far more rigorous Phase 3 program. These trials can cost hundreds of millions of dollars and take years to complete. And the history of medicine is littered with promising drugs that looked fantastic in Phase 2, only to fail in Phase 3, where the statistical bars are higher and the patient populations are broader. So, while the market is celebrating as if the touchdown has been scored, the reality is that Praxis has just made a fantastic play to get to the 1-yard line. They still have to punch it into the end zone, and that is never a given. The other critical piece of this puzzle is the company's financial health. Clinical stage biotechs do not generate revenue. They burn cash. Before this data, Praxis was operating with a finite runway. Now, with the stock price north of $150, the company has been handed a golden opportunity to raise a very significant amount of capital. It is almost a certainty that we will see a secondary offering announced in the coming days or weeks. The company's management would be irresponsible not to capitalize on this price to fill their treasury and fund the upcoming Phase 3 trials. For current shareholders, this means dilution. While necessary for the company's long-term survival and success, a large offering can put a temporary ceiling on the stock price as new shares are introduced into the market. This is a classic biotech scenario that many new traders, perhaps using a SoFi Invest account for the first time, might not anticipate. They see the stock going up and jump in, not realizing the company is about to sell millions of new shares. Let's quickly cover what Praxis Precision Medicines actually is, for those unfamiliar. This isn't a company making electric vehicles like Tesla stock or consumer electronics. Praxis is a biopharmaceutical company focused on developing treatments for central nervous system disorders. Their approach centers on understanding the genetic basis of these conditions to create targeted therapies. Their pipeline includes candidates for a range of conditions, from movement disorders like Essential Tremor to psychiatric conditions like major depressive disorder and perimenopausal depression. The business model is pure, high-risk, high-reward science. They spend heavily on research and development in the hopes that one of their drug candidates will successfully navigate the clinical trial gauntlet, win FDA approval, and become a commercial product. Before today, the stock's performance had been volatile, reflecting the binary nature of clinical trial readouts. Investors who held the stock through its downturn, perhaps in a diversified individual brokerage account, have been spectacularly rewarded for their conviction. Looking ahead, the future outlook is now sharply divided between a blue sky scenario and a more pragmatic, risk-adjusted one. The optimistic expectation is that the FDA is impressed with the Phase 2b data. The Phase 3 trial design is straightforward, enrollment is quick, and the results replicate what we've just seen. In this scenario, a larger pharmaceutical company, hungry for a de-risked CNS asset, could swoop in and acquire Praxis for a significant premium to even today's elevated price. Big Pharma would rather pay a few $1 billion for a company with a late-stage asset than spend a decade trying to develop one in-house. This is the outcome every long-term investor is hoping for. Comment below if you think a larger pharma company will try to acquire Praxis before they can even start their Phase 3 trials. However, the more cautious reality forces us to consider the risks. The full dataset from the Essential 1 study will need to be scrutinized. Were there any concerning safety signals, even if they weren't statistically significant? How did the drug perform in various subgroups of patients? Any of these details could temper the initial excitement. Competition is another factor. While the market is large, other companies are also working on novel treatments for essential tremor. And then there's the ever-present execution risk. Can the company manage a large multinational Phase 3 program efficiently? Can they secure the necessary financing on good terms? These are the questions that serious investors, perhaps using more sophisticated platforms like interactive brokers or managed solutions like Schwab Intelligent Portfolios, will be asking. The path forward is not just about the science. It's about financial strategy, operational excellence, and navigating a complex regulatory landscape. The risk hasn't vanished, it has simply changed form. The risk of the drug not working has been reduced, but the risk of financing, competition, and clinical execution have now taken center stage. Experienced investors in the biotech space understand this. They might use a platform with robust tools like Fidelity trading platform to set alerts and closely monitor company announcements regarding cash on hand and potential offerings. In conclusion, the story of Praxis Precision Medicines today is a textbook example of the tension between market expectation and fundamental reality in the biotech world. The expectation, fueled by a spectacular 183% surge, is that the company has a blockbuster drug on its hands and the future is a straight line upward. The reality is that this phenomenal clinical result is not a finish line, but the start of a new, incredibly expensive and still risky phase of development. The data is a phenomenal de-risking event that absolutely justifies a major re-rating of the stock. But the path to actually getting a drug on the market is long. The celebration today is warranted, but the work, the expense, and the risk are far from over. This is not the time for blind chasing, but for a calculated understanding of the opportunity, now balanced against the operational and financial hurdles that lie directly ahead. The true test for Praxis begins now. Disclaimer: this video is made only for educational and informational purposes. I am not a financial advisor. Any stock, crypto, or investment discussed here is not financial advice. Please do your own research or consult a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Invest responsibly. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video to support the channel. Heart.